What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right. So before I get into this video, I want to give a shout out to quite a few people who contributed to this channel, and I haven't got a chance to thank them on video. It's been a lot of contributions as of late. I want to give a shout out to uh, Daryl for his contribution to the channel. I want to give a shout out to Elijah for contributing to the channel. I want to give a shout out to Robert for contributing to the channel, and I also want to give a shout out to Larry for his contribution as well to the channel. Also, I want to give a shout out to Percy for his big donation to the channel. And last but definitely not least, I want to give a shout out to Aram, who once again contributed to the channel. And to answer your question, Aram, yeah, I did do a top 10 overall list of players on my channel not too long ago. I think I did it not too long before Kobe Bryant passed away. I want to say I did it sometime around maybe November or December of 2019, somewhere in that time frame. So it's definitely a series of videos I did on my channel recently, uh, relatively recently regarding that. So the top 10 by position, I've done point guards, I've done shooting guards, I've done small forwards. So now I'm going on to power forwards. There's one particular change on this list, and it's not an active player. It's a player that I didn't include last time. Well, actually, two different changes. It's a player that I didn't include last time. Um, on my part, it was me forgetting at the time or not realizing his impact in the ABA. And when you combine the ABA and NBA, I really had a hard time not including him. Okay. The other change that I've made is I no longer have Dennis Rodman in my top 10. I still think a world of him. I'm one of the first players. I'm one of the first players. Jesus Christ! I'm one of the first persons to think that he was a player worthy of being in the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame. But I don't think that he's a top 10 power forward. I think he's more 15-ish, you know, maybe in that range. But at number 10, I have Dolph Schayes. All right. Dolph Schayes is one of the original uh, big forwards in the NBA, like high scoring big forwards. For his career, he averaged about 18.2 points, 12.1 rebounds, and 3.1 assists per game. Now, the 18.2 points per game is good, but it doesn't stand out at you. But you got to remember, when he played the first several years of his career, there was no shot clock. Scoring was a lot lower. The league average as far as points was between 70 to 80 points a game. Some teams were even scoring in the 60s. So, you got to put that into perspective. But Dolph Schayes was in his era, not saying he was as skilled as James Harden, but he had some similarities. He was a big forward. He was about 6'7", 6'8", 195 pounds, which was a pretty big guy in those days in the NBA at that time. He was known for his outside shooting. He was a really good outside shooter. In today's NBA, Dolph Schayes would probably be a 3-point gunner. Okay, but he was known for his outside shooting. He was the last player in the NBA to still shoot the set shot, the two-handed set shot, when everybody else had transitioned to the modern day jump shot. He also, however, had a knack for getting to the foul line. He often was amongst the leaders or did lead the NBA in free throw attempts, but he made the most out of these attempts. Um, you know, he was an 85% career free throw shooter. Earlier on in his career, he was about an average free throw shooter, but toward the later part of his career, he really became a much better foul shooter, kind of like how Magic Johnson started off as an average free throw shooter, but became a great one as his career progressed. Dolph Schayes led the NBA in free throw percentage 3 times, late 50s and I think early 60s. We look at his accomplishments as a player. He was the NBA champion 1954-55 with the Syracuse Nationals. He was a 12-time NBA All-Star, um, 6-time All NBA first team, 6-time All NBA second team. He was a rebounding leader in 1950-51. Back then, they chose leaders by total rather than per game. He was on the 25th anniversary team in the NBA, the memorable 50th anniversary all-time team. He was the NBL Rookie of the Year, and you heard me correctly, the NBL Rookie of the Year, just before the NBL and the BAA merged to become the NBA in 49-50. His number 4 is retired by the Philadelphia 76ers, and he won the Haggerty Award in 1948. And as a head coach of the Philadelphia 76ers, he was the coach of the year in 1955, 1956. Now, Dolph Schayes was born in the Bronx in 1928. He grew up on Davidson Avenue and 183rd Street, which is near Jerome Avenue and University Heights, the Bronx. Now, in high school, he attended Creston Junior High School 79 and DeWitt Clinton High School. Well, I meant school, I guess. He attended these schools in the Bronx, New York, where he played for the basketball team and led it to a borough championship. He played his college ball at New York University between 1944 and 1948. In 1945, as a 16-year-old freshman, Schayes helped NYU reach the NCAA final. Schayes earned an aeronautical engineering degree and was an All-American in basketball and won the Haggerty Award in his final year. His NYU coach, Howard Kane, said of him, he was in the gym practicing every spare minute. We had to chase him out. Schayes was drafted by both the New York Knicks in the 1948 BAA draft and by the Tri-Cities Blackhawks in the NBL draft. The Blackhawks traded his rights to the Syracuse Nationals, who then offered him a contract worth about $7,500, or in today's dollars, about $80,000, 50% more than the Knicks, influencing his decision to join the Syracuse Nationals. Schayes played one season in the NBL and was named the league's Rookie of the Year. The following season, the two leagues merged and formed the National Basketball Association as part of the merger. Okay. Although tall for his era at 6'7", Schayes was especially known for his deadly high arcing outside set shot. It arced so high that teammates gave him the nickname of Sputnik. This was the space age back then. When this shot was denied or challenged by defenders, this is when he would take advantage of his speed. Remember, he was 6'7", 195 pounds, so he had quickness for that time. He would drive to the basket. He was very good at finishing to the basket. He had that height advantage. Or he would get fouled and go to the foul line where, as I said before, he was rather accurate. These two offensive weapons served him well, even as the NBA was transitioning into a league of jump shooters. Early in his career, Schayes broke his right arm and spent almost an entire season as a cast, but this became a blessing because he then learned how to shoot with his off arm. The next year, the 1949-50 season, he was sixth in the league in assists with 259. He led the NBA rebounding with 1,080 total rebounds. He was third in the league in rebounding in 1952-53 with 920. And in 1953-54, his 12.3 rebounds per game, although it didn't decide the rebounding champion, was fourth best in the NBA. During the 1954-55 season, Schayes led his team to the NBA championship, the Syracuse Nationals. In 1956-57, he led the league in minutes per game with 39.6 and free throws 625. Now, I believe at this time um, the league played 72, had a 72 game schedule. While he grabbed 1,008 rebounds, which is third in the NBA, and averaged 22.6 points per game. This is the first year of the shot clock being instituted in the NBA, and I think the league average was somewhere in the mid 90s as far as points per game is concerned. Might have been the mid 90s or lower 90s, somewhere like 93, 94, 95. Forgot, I just remember reading it. But that was a considerable jump from the year before, where the league scoring average was only 79. So already you saw how the shot clock was speeding the game up and increasing scoring. In 1957, Schayes set an NBA consecutive free throw record in a single game with 18 that has since been broken by several players. In 1957-58, he again led the league in minutes per game at 40.5 and averaged a career high 24.9 points per game, second in the league. Behind, I believe George Yardley led the NBA in scoring that year. I think it was 27.8 or something like that, while averaging 14.2 rebounds per game, which is fourth in the NBA. Schayes led the NBA in free throw percentage, as I said earlier, three times in 1958 at a 90.4% clip, 1960 at 89.2, and 1962 at 89.6%. In 1959, he scored a career high 50 points in a game against Bill Russell's Boston Celtics. In the NBA, he didn't miss a single game from February 17, 1952 to December 26, 1961, an NBA record streak of 706 games. So he was the original Iron Man in the NBA. In 1960-61, he once again led the NBA in free throws with 680. That same year, he became the first player in NBA history to amass 30,000 career total PRA, which is points, rebounds, and assists. And he was the first NBA player ever to pass 15,000 career points. When he retired in 1964, he led the NBA in most games played with 996, foul shots attempted 6,712. Foul shots attempted 7,904. Free throws made 6,712. Personal fouls 3,432. And was second to Bob Pettit in scoring at 18,438 and third in rebounds at 11,256. I believe he was probably third to, at that time, I would gather he was probably third to Bob Pettit and Bill Russell. The last year of his career, the Syracuse Nationals moved to the Philadelphia 76ers. Over to Philadelphia, became the Philadelphia 76ers. And the year after he retired, he became the head coach of the Philadelphia 76ers. And he um, led them, I think, for 2 years. And then he was replaced by Alex Hannum. And then Alex Hannum coached them that 1966-67 year when they went 68-13 and won the NBA championship. In 1970, he was elected, as I said earlier, to the NBA's 25th anniversary team as one of the top 12 retired players. In 1972, he was elected to the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame. He is also a member of the International Jewish Sports Hall of Fame, the U.S. National Jewish Sports Hall of Fame, and the National Jewish American Sports Hall of Fame. In 1996, he was selected as one of the 50 greatest players in NBA history. And posthumously, the 76ers retired his jersey on March 12, 2016. Um, Dolph Schayes from 1966-1970 was a supervisor of NBA referees. He was named the first coach of the Buffalo Braves, who are now the Los Angeles Clippers, in 1970, but was fired one game into his second season. Dolph Schayes had a son. Many people in my generation remember his son's name was Danny Schayes, who played in 1980s and 1990s, and he had a long career. I think he played like 18 seasons. Um, in May of 2015, Dolph Schayes was inducted into the Bronx Hall of Fame, where he received a street named in his honor called Dolph Schayes Street. Unfortunately, on December 10th, 2015, at the age of 87, Dolph Schayes passed away due to cancer. Um, and most of his generation is gone, and but his contributions to the game, his influence in the game will never be forgotten. And when you look at how he helped to sort of, he was one of the first outside shooting big men in the NBA. He was a precursor to that. He was such a revolutionary player for his time. And because of that, I think he still warrants a top 10 position, in my opinion. So I have Dolph Schayes, number 10 all time on my list for power forwards. Tell me what you guys think.